Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Resident Rule Breakers. I'm Kayla.
I'm Camille.
And on today's podcast, we are talking about season 5, which is like our wishes and for storylines that are going to be in the season, like our hopes and dreams and stuff. We did this last year before season 4, like very early, like in the really extended hiatus we had. So this podcast is very similar to that one. But it's also very special in other ways too, because it's our 60th podcast.
We're old. We're senior citizens.
This is our 60th podcast. It's also our first podcast in our 4th season of podcasts, if you understand how podcasting works. A lot of podcasts do seasons, and that's what we do. So 4th season, run through the summer hiatus, and then when we go back into when season 5 goes back on the air, our 5th season of podcasts will start, and they'll follow along straight with season 5. So it'll be easy for you to follow because people ask us about the season numbers all the time on our graphics, and there's a reason.
It's gonna be more like it's season 4, and I'm sitting there going, we've had season 3 on the podcast covers for like the whole year, and you're just now noticing that it says.
Well, here's the thing: the podcast was started in season 2 of the show. So, we did season 1 of the podcast in season 2, and we didn't really do it like it started like halfway through the season. So, there wasn't that many episodes that we actually covered. Season 2 of the podcast was started in the middle of the long extended COVID hiatus. So, there's a reason why it runs the way it runs, but we're just. So if anyone's questioning why we're doing the numbers the way we are, there's a reason. Season 4 and 60 podcasts later, here we go. And we're happy to be here. We do have some news, like, because we haven't recorded in 2 weeks. Because that's what we're going to do during the summer hiatus is every 2 weeks we record a podcast. It makes it easier on us and everything, especially since my summer is usually pretty busy. With Anuja Joshi was promoted to series regular.
Yay!
She plays Leela, and so we'll have more Leela in season 5. So congrats, Anuja, and we're very much looking forward to her.
I'm excited about Anuja. Shoot, I liked her from the beginning, and she seems exciting. I swear to God, I will be very, very disappointed if the writers just pigeonhole her into being Devon's lover.
Yeah, I don't want her to have been promoted just so they can give Devon a extended love interest. I want Leela's storyline, and quite frankly, and we're going to get to this in a moment, all the female character storylines to expand outside of their male counterparts. So like Nick, for instance, like have her own storyline outside of her marriage to Conrad. Like, something to help her character development on its own without Conrad's influence. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep. I agree 100%, million percent agree with everything you just said.
But like, before we really get deep into some of these wishes, because a lot of them were compiled by fans, listeners, and everything, we asked, we put a post up and said, what are your wishes for season 5? And so this is a kind of culmination of our wishes and your wishes too. So there's all that. Manish's birthday is June 17th. Happy birthday, Manish. Last year we did a whole podcast for Devon.
How old is he now?
Manish, I think he's 38. He looks good for 38.
Yeah, he does. Okay, here's my season 5. One of my season 5 wishes: more shirtless Devon. The dude is very gorgeous. I know we should not be sexualizing actors, but like.
But people do it to Matt all the time. I see it in the fandom all the freaking time.
Yes. But I mean, I don't like it sexualizing them, especially since they're supposed to be working and they do a lot of work, and it's supposed to be, like first and foremost. But I mean, his body is his work too. So I feel like, we can appreciate him and his body without sexualizing him. And season 5, we need more shirtless Devon. There you go. And I feel robbed since Julian left, because remember we had that one scene with him and Julian.
Yep.
That was
it
it
was hot.
I know, right?
Yeah, that was a steamy scene. But I if they're gonna go down the road of Devon and Leela, which it looks like they are, I just hope that they can develop her enough to where they can become equals.
Yep.
That's really my only thing about that whole relationship. Like, I want them to be happy, but whatever. That's just the way I feel about it. Before we truly dig into these things, I do want to mention 2 more things because of our lack of recording. June is Pride Month. So the LGBTQ community, we want to let you know we're allies to you.
Yeah. What? I want more, what's it called? I'm happy that the resident has finally added an LGBTQ character. I'm waiting for like Conrad Ricamura's announcement to being
Promoted,
yeah, before I can honestly say that there's progress on the show anyway. Because I just like it. That was just, if he doesn't get promoted, especially with the storyline that he has already, and the lack of representation, in my opinion, that the resident has had in the past, of him being the only LGBTQ character, I'm like, well, I don't know if this is really progress. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also,
I mean, I see all the stuff that Fox did, like they changed their icons and everything, and they're trying to promote Pride Month, and I see that, but it also feels like service too.
Performative. I feel like it's performative. Yeah.
So, but we fully 100% support we see what the resident's trying to do, but they need to go further. And with that particular aspect, and so just bringing that one up. Also, Juneteenth is a big day for the African American community, and I wanted to make sure that we covered it because our next podcast doesn't release until June 28th. So,
yep. For those who don't know what Juneteenth is, it's the day that African Americans were finally freed after all of the African Americans were finally freed after slavery, because Texas was the last state to free their slaves. And finally, the Union soldiers went to Texas and told them, hey, you're free. We still have a lot of work to do because.
So I really just wanted to make sure that we covered our bases because Juneteenth is coming up. It's June the 19th. And there's a lot of progress that needs to be made. Definitely.
Yep.
So season 5 wishes. We mentioned this one already. Progression of the storylines of the female characters outside their male counterparts. So, like, obviously I've mentioned Nick. She deserves to be able to have a storyline that's not her being a mom or her being a wife. Something with her in the hospital that progresses her as a person and as a nurse and not just as a wife and a mom, stuff like that.
Yep.
That was the most prime example I could think of because she's so tied to him and doesn't get much of a storyline these days.
Yep.
Same thing with Leela. Like, I want to see her progress in her own ways in the OR. If they're going to pursue this relationship with Devin, let her progress in the OR and with Devin, but separately.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way it needs to be. They don't need to be just, these female characters are strong, Nick in particular, and they deserve to be able to represent that. And Kit, she's a strong, powerful woman. She runs that hospital. Deserves more of a storyline. Deserves more being able to show the girl power, the whole 9 yards. So yes, that's one of my wishes. Jessica and Irving. I was so, like, I understand that season 4 of The Resident was cramped. Like, they really had 14 episodes and a lot pushed into it. But the writing was rushed. It was squished around, and Jessica and Irving got shoved to the side.
Forgotten.
Yeah. And I love Jessica Meisel, and I love Tassa Feldman. They are amazing. They've been there since the pilot. They deserve better than what they've gotten last year. I know that there was a COVID thing. They had a lot of restrictions involved, but still, these two characters deserve better.
We were waiting for, like, they were teasing about what's that called? Like a haunted mansion wedding. The wedding track. Like, they were teasing about, like, a possible, haunted mansion kind of wedding. Jessica was, like, talking about, like, turquoise napkins, that kind of thing. And, like a really funky, out of the norm kind of wedding. And I got that sort of with an aquarium, but it was still a little bit of a disappointment. It was like a throwaway wedding.
Yeah, it really felt rushed, and I'm hoping either they get some type of justice in season 5, because season 5 should be a full season order count, which means they go to 23 episodes, which means they have more time to develop these characters and develop these storylines that they want to do. And Jessica and Irving should definitely be amongst those characters that get developed better.
Yep.
But yeah, I want to see, like, relationship stuff, or like a double date with Connick, or just stuff like that, to say, and for them to actually reference that Jessica and Irving got married, because they didn't do that. I don't know.
Yep.
More Chu, he's an Asian American character that's been there since the beginning. He's the head anesthesiologist of the entire hospital. And he's barely there. And he was at Connick's baby shower, which means they're close, right? Yep. So development on his character, because that would bring amazing representation to The Resident. So a lot of people are wanting him to have a better storyline and more developed, fleshed out character.
Yeah.
And same thing with Nurse Hundley. Like, they really did start with her, like, in season 4 when she got COVID and they brought her daughter in, and they showed some of that. So continue fleshing out Hundley and showing her more, because I love Denitra. So that's kind of like what we want to see. Some of these minor characters get fleshed out more, and this new season will give them time to try to do that, I think.
Yeah, I don't want Chu, like, they only had, like, really one storyline with him where he might have caused a fire. So I want him to redeem himself. We see him really in other ORCs and all of the ORCs pretty much, but he's a background actor. He's pretty much fallen back to being a background actor. So I want him to just have a little bit more of a storyline. I know this is difficult because, I mean, like, even though we're gonna have like 23 or 24 episodes season 5 with such a big cast and many storylines, someone's gonna be falling in the back. But I'd like a little bit.
A character that's been there since the pilot deserves better.
Yeah.
So that's what we're getting at here with this one, and a lot of other. That was a fan recommendation or a fan want, so we agreed. Absolutely.
Yep.
I know that a lot of Conrad and Nick shippers were very disappointed with the way they handled Gigi's birth. With the baby doll and the whole 9 yards of call it baby gate. We're just gonna stop right there. But there was other things. They wanted to see Nick, like, I guess, sweating through her labor, or
what's this? I mean, like, seriously, I'm sure, like, even mothers don't want to see themselves
no, and but they're like, they want to, like, there's a suggestion here from someone, and they wanted to see maybe a flashback to Nick begging for drugs or something while she was in labor or something like that.
What the hell? That's not one of those people.
But the one thing I have to agree with is not seeing Gigi grow up too fast.
Yeah.
It's going to be difficult because there are a lot of child labor laws surrounding using infants and toddlers and stuff like that. And how they deal with it and how they handle it is going to be one of those things. Gigi may just not be seen very much.
Yeah, very rarely the baby seen on a TV show. Like, like, unless, what is it called? Unless, like, she's part of the main storyline or whatever. I mean, you think about it, many medical shows when the doctors have kids, you rarely see the kids unless they're part of the major storyline with their parent doctor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it also would be pretty cool to see Conrad and Nick going through the new parent woes and stuff. So, and the other thing would seeing this would be a very realistic storyline for Nick too, is her going through postpartum depression. A lot of women go through it, and it would be very realistic. And for them to put a light on it, they would probably get applauded for it.
Yeah.
So, hint. I know the writers are in the writing room writing, so hint. Just letting you know.
Yeah.
And then also more of Kyle and Marshall, bring them in a little bit more, bring the grandpas in. Marshall's around more because he's the chairman she's the chairman of the board.
I know, he's cute.
So more grandpa brigade. I loved them. It reminded me of my own grandfathers. So yeah.
Yep.
I mentioned this one earlier too. Kit being more obviously a powerful female CEO, but also like they show her in the OR with Billy, like in the final episodes of season 4, and she could really be a mentor to these residents and these interns in a way that they haven't had before, especially with a female boss like that. So it would give Jane Leeves a pretty awesome storyline.
Yeah.
So her being a mentor, because we lost a very powerful female character with Shawnette leaving. We lost Mina, and so feeling like you're never gonna fill that gap. You're never gonna fill that hole. But for them showing more female empowerment, yes, I think that would be a great way to use Kit.
Yeah, I love Kit. Kit is such a great character and stuff. And I know a lot of people want Kit Voss to happen this season. And no, I don't know. I'm having trauma. Like, seriously, I'm having trauma from, like, what's that called? From Minotaur, because I just feel like when they finally happened, it was, because I feel like with Minotaur, when they finally got together, it was their, like, send-off. So I'm sitting there going, if they do that with Kit Mom, does that mean like one of them's gonna leave too?
Well, and a lot of people are like, yeah, they want Kit and Belle to get together, but I'm sitting here going, as much as I would love that, and I do want to see progression, they're going to pull the will they, want they thing to the very end, and I hope they do, because that means we get more Kit Voss. I don't think Bruce is going to leave the show anytime soon, but the fact is, the sooner they put them together, the more boring that storyline becomes. So there's a reason why them dragging it out is going to be a good thing. There's a reason writers do that, and it's just to keep drama in the show. So
nobody likes it, but there's a reason.
The fans don't like it, but the writers do. The actors seem to. Well, apparently Bruce. So there's that. So that was one of the things I had on my list here. Holiday episodes. They have time for this. There's 23 episodes. They have time to do some type of holiday themed episode. Sometime. They've done Thanksgiving. They've done Halloween twice. They've done Valentine's Day. A lot of people are wanting them to do some type of Christmas or holiday themed episode near their season, mid-season finale or whatever they do, be Christmas themed. It airs sometime in the end of November, early December, somewhere in there. So I would like to see them do that, because I love Christmas episodes. Quite frankly, I like them. So
that's.
But they have Gigi and all this other stuff, so they really could do a pretty awesome episode, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So holiday themed episodes. I mean, even if they had to do another Thanksgiving or another Halloween, which both the Halloween episodes are absolutely awesome. Like, just they nailed it right on the head with those. So. They have time to do it. I say do it.
Yeah.
Just a hint, writers. But yeah, that was actually not my suggestion, but another fan suggestion, and I was like, oh, I like that idea. So, most people probably already guessed this one. The villain of season 5 is probably gonna be Big Pharma. They wanted to do this before the pandemic hit and couldn't, because they decided to change it up some and make it more soapy and blah blah blah. They're going back to their roots, and I'm happy about it. And so we'll see a rawer season. I think using Big Pharma. I mean, because Big Pharma's profit over patients, which is the whole thing about the resident. They're saying it doesn't have to be that way. And these companies just take you for every dime you're worth. So fighting big medicine is because they already kind of hinted at it with the BioSouth thing and the drug trial with the sickle cell anemia. They really kind of hinted at it at the end there. I could see some interesting cases coming out of this storyline.
Yeah. Well, see, okay, so how do I say this without sounding bad? I kind of so a lot of people, we've been dealing with the pandemic for a while now, and now we have vaccine conspiracy theorists who think that, we become Magneto and things are sticky to us and stuff like that. And a lot of people seem to use this whole Big Pharma is all about money to push this anti-vax narrative and to push that COVID is fake or whatever. So I don't know if I want it, because we've been living through the effects of this narrative that's being pushed that Big Pharma is negative. You know what I mean? And doctors shouldn't be trusted. and stuff like that. And it's like, because all they want is money from Bill Gates or whatever. But, and so I'm sitting there going, do I really want to see that played out?
I don't know, but it looks like that's where they're going. I mean, multiple people have said that, and I've seen Amy do some hinting via her Twitter. So I
know that's what they want or whatever, but I just don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm tired.
We've already mentioned this, the last rush writing. A lot of people said season 4 was rushed in many ways, and it was because of the compact half season that they had. So a lot of people are begging them to slow down on the writing and let the characters develop naturally, let the writing be natural. More traditional season, like season 2, season 3, which were both longer. And to go back to the roots of the resident, which is, the bad side of medicine. So profit over patients, the whole 9 yards. That's where the roots of the show are. And a lot of people would love to see them go back to that.
I think they will do a lot of things differently now that we're back to regular amount of episodes and regular amount of time. I wonder, will they? There are some things that I do want to know. Like, now that we know that several of the actors, like AJ's mom, changed because of the pandemic. So did Radak. Several actors who have been in, that kind of thing. The pandemic kind of affected.
Bring back some like, I get them changing the actress on AJ's mom. I get that and everything. But yeah, bring back Radak. I would love to see Grayson return, kind of deal. So that would be cool. He has to be Kit's assistant still, right?
He has to be back somewhere. I want Radak back. The whole season was kind of sad without him. I mean, could you imagine Radak would have totally done something to make Nina leaving, I don't know, not so sad. The whole season was sad without Radak.
Yeah, and I love his Radak stepped in for me when I was in the throes of COVID, right? And he actually co-hosted with Camille. And I'm very grateful for that still. But he always has theories about where's Grayson? What's Grayson doing in the middle of this? How's he reacting to all these things happening around him? And so I would love to see if Grayson got his own show.
I know, right?
Radak's the perfect person to do it, and they could post them on the resident YouTube channel.
I know.
It would have been a perfect little webisode thing that they could have done, but oh well. Anyway, and he could have filmed them virtually.
I know.
Just saying. We're all for them bringing back characters that they couldn't really use due to the pandemic stuff. Now that vaccinations are up, and now that other restrictions are loosening, I think you'll see more guest stars.
Yeah.
So that'll be a difference as well. I kind of already mentioned this, but obviously Leela and Billy grow in their careers. Everyone grow, character growth throughout the whole entire show. These characters don't need to regress. Devon, I think he's absolutely regressed, and I hate it. Devon in particular needs to have some character progression on him. But Leela, the female characters, I want to see progress. I want to see the male characters progress too in their careers. Conrad can't stay the head resident forever, guys. He needs to go on and become an attending. So I think that they need to show that progression. I know the show is called The Resident, but you know what? He's not the only resident on that show. So, sorry, but just pointing out that he needs to progress. They all do. So that's one of my big hopes, is seeing character growth. So, we mentioned Jake already. But just keep that character, even if he does recur in season 5, keep that, and show Sammy, show Greg, show Belle reacting to the fact that he has a granddaughter, stuff like that. Should grow the relationship between Jake and Belle. Bring Belle's TV show back.
I know, ring them down.
Yeah. Stuff like that. And I understand there's a lot they couldn't do because of the pandemic. TV show would have been one of those things. But he could have done doing it virtually. Who knows? A lot of these TV shows did that while the pandemic was going on. So just pointing out. A lot of people were complaining that Conrad is too perfect. And in my opinion, yes, he's like this idealized perfect character. As a doctor, he's flawless. Like, he's always got the diagnosis, he's always figuring it out. And for once, I'd love to see Conrad have a flaw as a doctor, because they all do. He's not perfect. They've shown the fact that he has some character flaws in the past, like he wouldn't open up to Nick. He, was getting closed off. He realized he had to open up, or he was never gonna be able to be in a long-term relationship, especially with Nick, and stuff like that. But there's parts of Conrad's past that are missing, like his mom. That mom plot line, that would be something that they need to work on. They tried to do the military thing this season and it failed. Like, I was really looking forward to see what they were going to do, and I think they failed big time. So what pushed Conrad to go to the military? That's kind of...
Yeah, you're going to probably disagree with me, but to be honest with you, I'm tired of having Conrad's talking about Conrad's past. Mostly because we've been talking about Conrad's past for the whole season.
But there's gaps. The mom thing, they needed to address that seasons ago.
Oh yeah, that was dropped in season 2, where they're supposed to, Marshall and Conrad were supposed to have a conversation about his mom. That never happened, so let's fill that in. But honestly, I'm tired of hearing about Conrad's past and having his military, and I feel like when we ask for more of his past, we get disappointed with what's going on.
Yeah, the military thing, that was a huge disappointment for me. So, but a lot of people were they wanted to see him be a badass again. I'm like, you do realize he just got married and had a baby. Men who get married and have babies, they kind of soften up a little bit. He's not going to be the tough guy he used to be. And I think Matt took that and he ran with it when he performed it. I think it's correct. So
yeah,
I think men who get married and have babies, they tend to start softening up some.
Yep.
Conrad's just not going to be the same badass and be a dad and husband and the whole 9 yards. So I think he is going to be softened up. That's part of his character progression. So it would be unrealistic for him to be completely badass still. But I do think they need to make him more flawed as a doctor. That would be the one gripe and complaint I have about his character. And I love Matt, I love Conrad, but that is my major gripe and complaint about his character. Billy. The storyline with her son needs to wrap, and it needs to wrap fast. I don't think many people want to see this thing drawn out across a season, and it would be difficult to watch for many people. And
yes.
they don't need to drag it out. They need to let Billy move on from this trauma, heal from it, and let her become a badass in the OR and learn things from Kit and everything, and then just move on with her life.
Yep, I agree 100%. I just like I don't like the episode at all. I don't like having to deal with I'm like so many of us already have to deal with our own trauma or whatever. I just don't want to like watch somebody else. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, I want them to. I didn't want them to go there to begin with, but now that they are, I don't want them to go there and drag it out to the end of time.
No.
So, and many of the people were like, I just don't want anyone else to leave this season. You know, we lost Shawnette. A lot of people absolutely despised that idea, but it was Shawnette's decision to leave the show. And when I mentioned what she was doing, she's in London filming Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, fuck, I'm tired, honestly, of like every other comment or whatever is being like, when is Shawnette coming back? We want Shawnette to be back. But
if you want Shawnette so much, go watch the new Indiana Jones when it comes out. That's what you do.
She doesn't want to be back.
No, she left the show for a reason. And but you know, if another actor just has to leave the show, we'll support it. Morris is dropping to recurring because he has another show that he's the main character of, by the way. I don't think he's going to be in that many episodes, to be quite honest. But
he's only gonna probably be here for like 2 or 3 episodes just to wrap up his character. I do wonder like how they're gonna wrap him up. You know what I mean?
So I'm just pointing out there are a lot of people, they're like, I don't want anyone to leave. I don't want anyone to leave. I'm just, you know, a show that stays with the same thing all the time becomes stagnant. It has to change and grow and develop. Yeah. And so I don't really understand why people just don't want this show to change and develop and grow. It needs to develop and have, it's a character into itself. It needs to have character growth. That's the way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think The Resident did a phenomenal job with season 4, considering what they were handed. Considering they were handed a shortened season, considering they were handed a pandemic constriction, all this stuff. They did a phenomenal job.
Season 5.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can't really criticize them too much when they had all these things that they were dealing with, the multiple testing, the vast shields, the temperature checks, the whole 9 yards. And they were having social distancing on set to prevent an outbreak, the whole 9 yards. So people just realize what the actors went through, what the crew went through, everything to bring the show to life. And we got a phenomenal show considering their restrictions. So I don't know how relaxed these restrictions are going to become going into the 5th season. So restrictions are obviously going to probably be lowered as vaccinations go up. The state of Georgia has a lot less restrictions than some places. But I'm just pointing it out that we may get a little bit more stuff as other things become normal again.
Oh yeah, I wanted to say that I had surgery last week.
So, yeah, she did. She did have surgery on the same foot you had surgery on last year, right?
Yeah. And so I had surgery last week, and my and like I'm in a big ass cast, and my doctor's happy because he says that it's looking good, but I'm struggling mostly because I can't move. I feel like I can't move. We have what's that called? Like we had I'm not supposed to put weight on my foot, but I feel like I keep almost falling because I can't put weight on my foot. So it's like and then but yeah, it's hard, but I'm getting there. And hopefully with this surgery, everything is done. They took a big chunk of my bone out of my foot. 2 inches, two by 2 inches of bone. So, but yeah.
So there's that. So I hope you actually get through this time. We don't have to deal with antibiotics and PICC lines and surgeries and stuff like this, because you've been dealing with this for a long time.
Yes.
And so there was that. But we have a Patreon account to help support the funding for the podcast. We use the money for like hosting and equipment and stuff like that. And yeah. I have lately been putting more stuff on it now that I'm really feeling better. So graphics for like this podcast and the next podcast, which comes out in 2 weeks, are already on Patreon, so you can see those. And there's also a little intro video I edited, which you will, if you're watching on YouTube, you saw it at the beginning of this video. If not, then I suggest you go to YouTube and look at it. But I made a little thing, because you got to grow and change with the times, right? So it is. So patreon.com/The Resident Podcast. And you can support us. It's as little as $1 a month. And you can see things like the video or the graphics that are coming and stuff like that. Also, we mentioned, certain things like during the summer hiatus, we're only doing 2 podcasts a month. So every other week, there'll be a podcast. June 28th, we're jumping back to season 2, which it's the easiest way for us to do this is just to fill what we haven't done. And season 2, episode 2 was the last podcast we haven't done episode 4. So that's where we're going. And 2 is the Prince and the Pauper. That's the insulin episode. So I actually really do love that episode. It's got some good stuff in it. And unless we get some type of special interview or something in the midst of this show hiatus, we're going to continue on through season 2 until the show returns in the fall. So just bringing that up. And so July 12th will be 204, which is About Time. That's the Tonk Sade Gilmore Girls. He's a fan of Gilmore Girls. If anyone don't know who he is. That's that episode. He's the guest star in that. And then July 26th, episode 205, which is The Germ. That is the episode where Matt runs around in the police shirt.
So cute. And
yes.
My favorite when the staff plays like detective and they they try to find Tasso and stuff.
Yeah.
That happened to me when I was a kid that the nurses and doctors did for me.
So yeah, just bringing that one up. And then August 9th, we're going to be 2/7. Because the reason why we're jumping to 2/7 is 2/6 is the Halloween episode, and we've already done it. We also, if you haven't noticed, we jumped 2/3. 2/3 is 3 words and has already been done. 3 words is the Conic episode.
Yep.
2/7 is Trial and Error. That's the Jesse and the drug trial episode. Yep. And then August 23rd, we're just going to go to the end of August for now and see what happens with September, because there'll be a lot more information out by September, I can promise you. It'll be episode 208, which is Heart in a Box. I think Mina and AJ do a heart transplant in that episode. So, so we'll be talking about all that unless there's some type of something that happens in the midst of hiatus, like an interview or something, then we'll make adjustments. But that's the plan for now.
So I have a second podcast, and this one is about the Hallmark movies. So if you guys like Hallmark movies, last week I did an interview with as an actor, a local actor. He's from Hawaii as well, who was one of the co-stars of Hallmark's most recent movie, You Had Me at Aloha. I've done several interviews with several other actors as well. So anyway, just go check it out. It's called Hallmark Heartbeats. It is on all platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Alexa, TuneIn, pretty much everything under the sun. It's
yes. Yes.
Again, Hallmark Heartbeat and stuff. So
yeah, and also she has a Buy Me a Coffee account, and you can support her through that. Buy Me a Coffee /HMark Heartbeats, and so that helps her fund her podcast.
Yep.
And also she has her Instagram account, which is at Hallmark Heartbeats. So there's that as well. You can check all that out. So how to contact us and everything. We have an email address. So if you just want to say hi, or you're from the show and you want to contact us and, say I'd love to be on the podcast or whatever, you can email us. It's theresidentRulebreakers@gmail.com. And we monitor it, I can promise you. So you can do that. We have our Facebook page, which is the Resident Rule Breakers Podcast. And then we have the Facebook group, which we both co-admin with two other lovely ladies, Brittany, who's been on the podcast multiple times, and Amy. And it's called the Resident Fox Fans. And they're linked, the group and the page are linked to each other. So if you're not in the group, answer all 4 questions or you'll be denied. All I gotta say. Not much is going on now that the show's in hiatus, but it gets pretty active and crazy in there on show nights. Or during showtime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instagram. We have an Instagram account, and it's at the Resident Podcast. And we post, obviously, announcements, that we got a new podcast, whatever. Things like news-worthy stuff, like Anuja getting promoted. Stuff like that. So follow us there for all the latest podcast news, whatever. And then Camille has a fan page at the Resident on Fox Fans. Sometimes she'll post, especially when the show's in like season and process of filming and everything, she'll sometimes post BTS and stuff from set. So it's at Resident on Fox Fans. I have my personal Instagram, which is at KBCountry37. And then we have a Twitter at Resident Podcast. But people were asking me about when the show would go back into production. They usually go back into production in July for a fall premiere.
Give them a break.
Yeah, give them a break. The writers, the show finished production in April, and they get a break until July. The cast does. The writers go back into the writing room, I think, usually around June, early June. So they're already there. They're already writing. So, yeah. So, but just letting you guys know that's how it normally works with the fall premiere, September-ish kind of thing. That's what we're predicting. Anyways, the platforms, Camille's kind of already ran them down, but we're not on some of the ones she did mention. So Podbean, which is our podcast host, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and our YouTube channel. And I'm trying to make the YouTube channel a little bit funner to, watch, for people. That's why I did the little intro thingy. So, so there's all that. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with a discussion on episode 202, The Prince and the Pauper. So until then, I'm Kayla.
I'm Camille.
Bye, guys.
Bye.